Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a heavy, heavy stack of research on the desk today, and I have to be honest with you, reading through this source material gave me a bit of vertigo. It's a strange feeling.
Vertigo is actually the perfect word for it.
Right, because we are looking at a seminal essay from the mid-20th century that predicts the exact moment we are living in right now.
And better than perhaps any sci-fi novel ever did.
Oh, completely. But it doesn't predict it with, flying cars or laser guns. It predicts the feeling of it, the anxiety of it.
It creates a mirror for the modern condition that is almost uncomfortable to look into.
Exactly. We are tackling the concepts of technology, distance, and this overwhelming feeling that the world is shrinking. But we aren't talking about it in a isn't tech cool kind of way.
No, not at all.
We are talking about the terror of it. The source material today is Martin Heidegger's essay, The Thing. And just to set the stage, I want to start with the image he paints right at the beginning.
The abolition of distance.
That's the phrase, the abolition of all distances. He talks about how we've conquered space. And you have to remember, he's writing this around 1950.
Right. So for him, the cutting edge is what? Airplanes?
Exactly. He's looking at airplanes that cross oceans overnight. He talks about radio, which, for us is the internet transmitting information instantly about events that used to take years to even hear about.
He mentions film, too. This is one of my favorite examples he uses because it's so specific and still so relevant.
Yeah, the plant germinating.
The germination of a plant on film. In nature, that process takes weeks, maybe months. It has this slow, hidden rhythm. But on film or, a time lapse on Instagram today, it happens in a minute.
It's bite-sized. It's content.
Exactly. We haven't just conquered the distance of space. We've conquered the distance of time. We've compressed the natural rhythms of life into something consumable.
And he also mentions seeing ancient ruins, places that are thousands of years old, displayed on a screen as if they are standing right in the middle of today's traffic.
Everything is brought to us.
Immediately.
It is the defining characteristic of our modernity. Everything is here. Everything is now.
And usually, we high-five ourselves for that. We call it convenience. We call it progress. I mean, I can FaceTime my friend in Tokyo while ordering groceries to my door. It feels like magic.
Of course.
But the source argues that this victory is actually a defeat. He says, and this is the core paradox, that despite this frantic abolition of all distances, we haven't achieved nearness.
That is the hook. Short distance is not in itself nearness. That is the sentence you have to just sit with for a minute.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Because intuitively, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
If I am zero distance away from something, if I'm holding it in my hand or looking at it on a screen, how can I not be near it?
Well, think about your newsfeed or just scrolling through social media.
Okay.
You see a video of a cat play or piano. Then you swipe, and it's a report on a war zone with, horrific imagery. Then you swipe, and it's an ad for sneakers. Then a clip from a movie. Physically, they are all the same distance from you.
Right. They are pixels on a piece of glass, 12 inches from my face. They are right there.
But are you near the war? Are you near the cat? Or are they just images washing over you? The source calls this uniform distancelessness.
Uniform distancelessness.
Uniform distancelessness.
Wow.
That sounds claustrophobic.
It is. It means everything gets lumped together into this single flat plane. It just flattens the hierarchy of meaning. When everything is equally accessible, everything becomes, in a way, equally indifferent.
So the war zone and the sneaker ad, they end up occupying the same mental space.
They're just content. And because everything is equally close, nothing is truly near. Nothing really, nothing touches us. It can't. There's no space for it to land.
It's like we're surrounded by a fog of information. We can touch everything, but we can't feel anything.
Exactly. And this is where the text takes a really dark turn. Because he doesn't just say, oh, this is annoying or we're distracted. He explicitly connects this psychological flattening, this lack of nearness, to the atomic bomb. Yeah, I read that part 3 times. Because usually when we talk about the atom bomb, especially in the 50s, we talk about the explosion, the mushroom cloud, the radiation, the end of the world. But he takes a totally different angle.
A much more psychological and ontological angle.
He calls the explosion the grossest confirmation. What does he mean by that?
Yes. The argument here is that the explosion is just the final punctuation mark. The real disaster didn't happen when the bomb went off. The real disaster happened when we started viewing the world in a way that allowed us to build the bomb in the first place.
Okay, explain that. How does distancelessness lead to a nuke? What's the connection?
Well, think about what a nuclear bomb treats the world like. It treats matter as pure, unlockable energy. It treats the Earth not as a home or a sacred place, or even just a place with its own integrity.
But as a resource.
A resource, a reservoir of forces to be unlocked and manipulated. The source argues that before the bomb ever exploded physically, we had already annihilated the thingness of the world in our minds. We stopped seeing things and started seeing objects. Or another one of his terms, standing reserve.
Standing reserve.
Yeah.
Nature's just a gas station waiting for us to pump it dry.
Precisely. If the world is just raw material, if a forest is just board feet of lumber and a river is just kilowatt hours of potential energy, then destroying it is just a manipulation of that energy. It becomes a technical problem, not a moral one.
Wow.
The terror he talks about isn't just the fire. The terror is that the terrible has already happened. We have already lost our connection to reality in a fundamental way.
That is chilling. It implies that even if we never drop another bomb, we are still living in the blast zone. We're living in the mindset that created it.
That is exactly his point. We are living in a world where the thing has been annihilated, and we're so used to it we don't even notice.
Okay, so if we're living in a world that's already been, for lack of a better word, spiritually nuked, how do we fix it? The text pivots here in a way I did not expect. I thought he was going to propose a treaty or a political movement or some grand gesture.
No, he does the opposite. He goes small.
He pivots to a jug.
A humble earthen jug.
I have to admit, I laughed. We are talking about the apocalypse, and then suddenly we were talking about pottery. To understand the bomb, you must understand the jug. It feels like a non sequitur.
It does feel like a stretch, but I promise you it is the only way out. We have to understand the difference between an object, which is what the bomb sees, what the internet gives us, and a thing. And the jug is our teacher.
All right, let's go to school. So what is a jug?
Okay, let's imagine we have a jug sitting on the table between us, just a simple ceramic jug.
Okay. It's there. If I asked a scientist or a physicist or an engineer to come in here and tell me, what is this jug? What would they say?
They would give you the facts. They would say it is a vessel made of fired clay, of terracotta. They'd measure the radius, the height, the weight.
They'd analyze the chemical composition of the ceramic.
Right. Silicon dioxide, aluminum oxide, traces of iron. They'd tell you how it was made. Put on a potter's wheel, fired in a kiln at, say, 1,000 degrees Celsius. They would describe it as an object that stands on its own. It is a self-contained physical reality in space-time.
And they wouldn't be wrong about any of that.
No, they would be factually correct. Every statement would be verifiable and true.
But the source gets really aggressive here. It says that this scientific view, this objective view, misses the point entirely. In fact, he says science annihilates the thing. Now, hold on. That feels unfair. Without the physics of the clay, the jug falls apart. Why is science the villain here?
It's not that science is a villain, but rather that science is, let's say, possessive or imperialistic. It claims to explain the whole reality, but it only explains the material. Let me ask you this. Does the clay actually hold the water?
Well, yes. I mean, if the clay wasn't there, the water would be all over the table.
The clay provides the boundary, sure, but the clay itself is solid. You can't pour water into the solid clay walls, can you?
No, of course not.
So where do you pour the water?
Into the empty space in the middle.
The void.
The void.
This is the aha moment. The source argues that the reality of the jug, the part that actually performs the function of being a jug, is the nothingness inside. When the potter is at the wheel, he is shaping the clay, yes, but he is only shaping the clay for the sake of the void.
Wow, okay.
From start to finish, the text says, the potter takes hold of the impalpable void. He's not making a solid sculpture, he's crafting an emptiness.
That is a completely different way of looking at it. The clay is just the frame. The thingness of the jug is the emptiness. The nothingness is the functional part.
Exactly. The material is there to shape the nothingness. The void is what holds.
But here is where my scientific brain kicks in again. And I think the listener might be thinking this too. If a physicist looks at that empty jug on the table, they're going to say it's not empty.
Right. They will say it's full of air.
It's full of nitrogen and oxygen molecules. It's teeming with atoms. It's a whole ecosystem of gases in there. So when I pour wine into the jug, I'm not filling a void. I'm just displacing a gas with a liquid.
Exchanging one filling for another, that is what the physicist would say.
Which is true. I mean, on a molecular level, that's what's happening. I can't just ignore the nitrogen.
It is factually true, but is it experientially true? Is it true to your life, to the way we live?
And what do you mean by that?
If you are at a dinner party and you pour a glass of wine for a friend, do you think to yourself, I am currently displacing nitrogen with fermented grape juice?
No, I'd be a robot if I thought that. Or a very strange dinner guest.
Exactly. The moment you see the jug only as a container of gas-displacing liquid, you have lost the plot. You have lost the thingness of the jug. You have turned it into a physics experiment. You have annihilated the social and functional reality of the object.
Okay, I see the distinction now. Science explains the reality, the objectness, but it misses the nature, the thingness.
And this brings us back to the bomb. If we only view the world through that scientific lens, as energy and matter and forces, we lose the ability to see the thing. We lose the void that holds. We lose the mystery, the purpose, the human scale.
So to really understand the jug, we have to ignore the nitrogen and focus on the function, the holding. But the text says holding isn't just a passive state, is it? It's not just a storage locker.
No, holding is dynamic. This moves us forward. The holding is done for the sake of the outpouring. The emptiness exists so that something can be given from it.
To pour from the jug is to give. I love that line. It's so simple and so profound.
It changes the jug from a static object into an active participant. The jug gives. It's an agent in the world.
And the text gets very specific about what kind of giving this is. It distinguishes between two types of pouring. First, there's the drink for mortals.
The practical pour. The everyday gift. It quenches thirst. It refreshes leisure. The source uses this wonderful phrase, enlivens conviviality.
Which is a fancy way of saying it makes the party better.
It makes the party better. It sustains life and community. It's the pitcher of beer at the pub or the jug of water at the dinner table. It's essential. It's the gift of sustenance.
But then there's a second type of pouring.
The consecration, the libation.
Yes, the pour for the gods.
Now, we don't really do this anymore, at least not consciously. We don't usually pour a bit of wine on the floor for Zeus before we start eating.
No, you'd get some strange looks.
You would, but the concept is vital. A libation is a pour that does not still thirst. It serves no biological function. In a purely utilitarian world, it's a waste of good wine.
Right, why throw it on the ground? Drink it.
But the text says this is the authentic gift. Because it elevates the celebration, it acknowledges that there is something higher, something more than just our biological needs and our thirst. It's a gift given to the mystery.
And there is a fascinating little etymological detour here that I wanted to touch on. The source looks at the word gush.
Oh, this is classic Heidegger. He loves digging into the roots of words to find their forgotten meanings.
Yeah, he looks at gush, which we usually think of as just a messy flow of water, and connects it to the Greek chin and the Indo-European root.
And what do those roots mean?
They mean to sacrifice. So the very word for a strong flow of liquid, hidden in its DNA, is historically tied to the concept of offering a gift to the divine. The outpouring is a sacrifice.
So holding leads to pouring, pouring is giving, and giving can be a sacrifice.
You see how the jug is growing? It started as a lump of clay, then it became a void. Now it's a bridge between thirst and satisfaction, and even a bridge between the human and the divine.
It's not just moving liquid from point A to point B, it is a gathering.
That is the key word, gathering. The jug gathers all these elements together, and this gathering is what introduces the central and perhaps most difficult concept of this entire essay.
Okay, buckle up.
Segment 4, the fourfold, das Gewirrt.
Listeners, take a deep breath. This is where we leave the kiddie pool and jump into the deep end of philosophy. It can sound a little mystical at first.
I read this section 5 times, and I'm still wrapping my head around it. The source argues that in the simple act of pouring wine from a jug, 4 cosmic elements are inextricably linked. They are gathered in the pour.
Let's break them down one by one, because they sound a bit like a tarot deck or a fantasy novel. Earth, sky, divinities, and mortals.
Let's start with the easy ones. Earth. That seems simple enough. The jug is made of clay, which is earth.
It's more than just the clay, though. Think about the wine inside. Or water. Where does it come from?
Grapes for the wine, a spring for the water.
And where do grapes come from? Where does the spring come from?
The vine, the roots, the soil, the rock.
The rock. The nutrients. The building bearer, as the text calls it. When you pour the wine, the earth is present in the liquid. You are literally pouring the result of the earth's work. You can't have the drink without the earth.
Okay, that tracks. I can see that. The second one is sky.
You can't have grapes without the sun, can you? You can't have them without the rain. You can't have a mountain spring without the entire weather cycle. The text says the sky includes the seasons, the gloom and glow of night and day, the climate.
That's beautiful. So the wine is basically bottled weather. It's bottled sunshine and rain from a particular year.
Exactly. So in the jug, you have earth and sky gathering together, but a grape just rotting on a vine has earth and sky too. What makes the jug special is who it is for.
The third element, mortals, us.
But wait, the text doesn't just say people or humans, it specifically uses the word mortals. Why do you think that is? Why that particular word?
Well, he makes a distinction between humans and animals. He says animals perish, but they don't die.
And what's the difference? That's a profound existential point.
To die, in this philosophical sense, means to be aware of your own end. A dog ceases to exist. It perishes. But it doesn't walk around working about its legacy or fearing the nothingness of death. It lives in the now.
We are the only ones who know the clock is ticking.
We are capable of death as death. We carry our death with us. And because of that, our time matters. Our celebrations matter.
I see. If we were immortal gods, a glass of wine would be meaningless or just be fluid. But because we get thirsty, because we get tired, because we have a limited number of days to enjoy a sunset or a conversation with a friend, the drink becomes precious.
Precisely. The jug serves our mortality. It gladdens our limited time. It's a small stay against our finitude. So the jug gathers earth, sky, and mortals.
And finally, the fourth element, divinities.
This is the one that tricks people up, especially in our modern secular world.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking about Zeus and the wine jug? Is this a religious argument?
Not necessarily a specific god with a beard, no. He's talking about the beckoning messengers of the Godhead. It's a sense of gratitude. It's the mystery, the wonder.
Is this related to the libation we talked about earlier?
Yes. But even without the ritual, think about the sheer improbability of existence, that there is earth and sky and consciousness to appreciate it all. When you really pay attention to the thingness of the jug, to this gathering, there is a sense of the holy other. It's the moment you feel small in the face of the universe, but in a good way.
So we have earth, sky, mortals, and divinities.
The fourfold.
And the argument is that these aren't four separate ingredients in a recipe. They're not like a salad.
No, they are mirrored in one another. They belong together in this simple oneness. You cannot have the wine, earth, sky, without the drinker, mortal, and the drinker finds meaning and joy through the mystery of it all, divinities. They reflect each other.
And the jug, this humble thing, is the knot that ties them all together, the focal point.
Ideally, yes.
Yeah.
The source uses a verb here that sounds strange in English, but it's crucial. The thing things.
The thing things. That sounds like Dr. Seuss.
It sounds silly, I know, but it's precise. It means the thing is actively gathering the fourfold. The jug isn't just sitting there. It is thinging. It is pulling earth, sky, divinities, and mortals into a single moment of presence, the pouring.
That is actually mind-blowing. So when I pour a glass of wine for a friend, if I'm really paying attention, if I'm not just displacing nitrogen, I'm participating in this cosmic gathering.
You are witnessing the marriage of sky and earth and the interaction of mortals and divinities. That is nearness. That is what the atom bomb destroyed. It didn't just destroy cities. The idea of the bomb destroyed our ability to see this connection.
It stripped the world of its thinging.
Exactly. Which leads us to a really interesting historical point. Why do we call it a thing? Why that word? Because today, thing is the most generic, empty word in the English language. Hand me that thing. I have a thing to do. It means nothing.
It's a throwaway word, a placeholder. But the text digs into the etymology, and it turns out thing used to mean something very powerful and very specific.
It goes back to Old High German. The word dink.
Dink. In Old High German, it didn't mean an object like a rock or a shoe. It meant a gathering, specifically a gathering to deliberate on a matter of concern.
So a thing was a meeting, a town hall, a court case.
Yes, a distinct event where people came together to discuss something that concerned them. You can still see a shadow of this in Scandinavian languages like the Icelandic parliament, the all thing, the gathering of all.
That is a huge shift in meaning. We went from thing, meaning a gathering of people to discuss a concern, to thing, meaning that coffee cup over there. What happened?
The text traces this through the Roman words res and causa. Res concerned a case or a matter of pertinence. Causa meant the case or the affair. Originally, these words were all about human concern. That is a great thing originally meant that is a matter of great importance to us.
And then over centuries, the meaning just drifted.
It flattened. It became object, something standing forth, something thrown in front of us. By the time we get to philosophers like Kant in the 1700s, the thing in itself is just an object viewed without a viewer. It lost the human connection entirely. It lost the gathering.
And the source wants to reclaim that original meaning.
Yes. The author wants us to hear the word thing and hear gathering. The jug is a thing not because it is a piece of matter, but because it gathers the fourfold.
It's a reclaiming of language to reclaim our relationship with reality.
Precisely. If we call a jug a thing in this new old sense, we are acknowledging it as a center of gravity for the world, not just a piece of trash to be used and discarded.
This idea of the gathering transitions us into what he calls the ringing of the world.
Right, the world. And just to be clear, in this text, world doesn't mean the planet Earth. It's not the globe. It refers to that interplay of the fourfold we talked about: Earth, sky, divinities, and mortals.
He calls it a mirror play or a round dance, which sounds lovely.
It's a dynamic system. Earth, sky, divinities, mortals, they are all dancing together. And the thing is the place where that dance happens. It's the ballroom, in a sense.
The text mentions a ring.
The ringing, yes. It says the gathering isn't like a static hoop that holds them together. It's a ringing that rests them into their own compliance. Think of a bell ringing. It resonates. The fourfold resonates through the thing, and the thing allows them to be themselves.
And the things that can do this, that can ring, are described as malleable, pliant, compliant. They are unpretentious.
They are modest. And the source gives us a list, which is really helpful. This is important because it shows that it's not just jugs. This applies to many parts of our lives.
Right, let's go through the list. A bench, a footbridge, a plow.
Simple, functional items that ground us in the world. Think about a footbridge. It gathers the banks of the river. It gathers the traveler. It gathers the stream flowing beneath, which is the earth, and the open air above, which is the sky. The bridge lets the river be a river. It doesn't stop it.
Unlike, say, a hydroelectric dam.
Exactly. A dam treats the river as a power source. It traps it. It turns it into standing reserve, into energy. A bridge lets it flow. The bridge is a thing. The dam is an object of technology.
That distinction really helps. The list goes on. A tree, a pond, a brook, a hill.
Natural features that define a place and gather the life around them.
A heron, a deer, a horse, a bull.
Living beings can be things in this sense, too. They gather the world around them. Think of how a horse gathers the meadow, the sky, the rider.
And then some cultural items. A mirror, a clasp, a book, a picture, a crown, a cross.
Symbols of authority, faith, memory, all of these are things. They are modest in number, he says, compared to the measureless mass of indifferent objects.
That's the contrast, isn't it? We are drowning in objects, consumer goods, data, disposable tech, plastic, everything, but we are starving for things.
We have a million objects, but very few things. And that is why we feel the lack of nearness. An object doesn't bring the world near, it just occupies space. A thing brings the world nearby, gathering it.
So this brings us to the big practical question. How do we find the thing again? Can I just go to a pottery class, make a jug, and say, there, I saved the world?
I wish it were that easy, but the source says absolutely not. You cannot just manufacture a thing. You can make the object, the clay pot, but you cannot force the thingness to happen. We cannot force the return of the thing.
That's depressing. We live in a time where the thing is annihilated by the distanceless, by technology and science.
Right.
So what do? Just give up, wring our hands?
No, we must be vigilant. The text talks about the vigilance of mortals. It's on us.
What does that vigilance look like? Practically speaking, is it a to-do list?
It requires a step back. We have to step back from what he calls representational thinking.
Representational thinking is the science part, the calculating, explaining everything.
Yes, calculating, categorizing, exploiting, the mindset of how can I use this? How much does this cost? How fast can this go? We have to step back from that and move toward responsive thinking, which he defines as recalling and listening.
Listening to what? The jug.
Listening to the appeal of the world. It's not a mere shift of attitude. It's not like deciding to be more mindful or doing yoga for an hour. It is about inhabiting nearness as a way of life.
The text has this beautiful but also kind of frustrating line. Thinking is a field path, which refuses to be a path of salvation and brings no new wisdom. That is incredibly humble.
It is. He is saying, don't expect this to save you in a dramatic way. Don't expect to become a guru or have some grand enlightenment. It is a humble path across a field. It implies wandering. It implies you might get muddy. It implies you aren't on a super highway to a destination. You are just walking through what is there.
It requires care and caution.
We have to learn to let things be things. To notice the gathering, to pour the wine and really pour the wine, to feel the weight of the jug, to see the color of the liquid, to share it with another mortal.
It sounds so simple, But in a world of instant notifications and overnight flights, it feels like the hardest thing in the world.
It is the hardest thing because it requires us to stop conquering distance and start cultivating nearness. We are the guardians. If we don't hold the space for things to be things, nobody will. The animals can't do it. The machines certainly won't do it. It is the unique burden and privilege of mortals.
We have to keep the world open.
We have to let the world...
Let the world whirl. I think that's the bumper sticker for this entire deep dive.
It's a good one. It's something to meditate on.
So let's wrap this up. We have been on quite a journey today.
We started with the terror of the atomic bomb and the paradox that our shrinking world has actually made us more distant from reality.
We looked at the humble jug and realized that science, with all its molecules and atoms, misses the point. The reality of the jug is the void, the empty space that holds.
We saw that holding is really forgiving, that the pour gathers earth, sky, mortals, and divinities into a single miraculous moment, the fourfold.
We learned that the word thing originally meant a gathering of concern, not just a dead object. And we saw that the world rings through these modest things, a bench, a bridge, a book, if we let it.
And finally, we learned that our job as mortals isn't to conquer the world or even to fix it, but to take a step back, to be vigilant guardians of these small gathering moments, to just pay attention.
So why does this matter to the listener right now? Why should you care about Heidegger's jug when you have emails to answer and a deadline to meet?
Because without things, we are nowhere. We are homeless in the universe. We are just floating in a void of meaningless objects. To dwell effectively as a human, to feel at home in the world, we need to recognize the things around us not as raw material to be used up, but as gatherings of the world. It changes how you treat your coffee cup, your garden, your neighbor. It brings meaning back into the mundane.
And I want to leave you with a final provocative thought from the source. The text says that our thinking is the mere final emission of what has long since taken place. It suggests we are guardians of a treasure being itself that we can't fully see or understand.
We must be content with being unswerving yet erring. We will make mistakes. We will get lost on that field path, but we have to keep looking.
So here's my question for you listening right now. Look around the room you were in. Ignore the phone, the screen, the data. What is one inconspicuous object in your life that might actually be a thing waiting for you to notice it? Is it an old chair, a handwritten letter, a stone on your desk? What gathering is happening right under your nose that you have been too busy to see?
That is the question.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We will see you next time.